here. Connected. Connected. Now I'll go back to the studio and start recording. Good morning, and welcome to Who Am I? I will be your host for the next approximately an hour. My name is, well, for the purposes of this show, my name is Amelie Starchild. And I am a human being somewhere on planet Earth in the 21st century. Actually, I am in the United States, as you can tell by my accent. Anyway, who am I? What is this show? It is stream of consciousness, which just means it's me. I get up early in the morning, and I have been doing this show for a very long time. But I have not been streaming it for very long, so I'm still finding my way. I'm finding my muscles. I'm finding my voice. I'm finding what it is that my soul needs to say to us. And I know that sounds grand, but did you know that every one of us is grand, extremely grand, and yet humble and small, both dust in the wind and the entire universe. That's what every one of us is. And I wish we would stop pushing against each other and we would start understanding who we really are and start acting like it. You know, we are a single organism on this planet, a superorganism. But we don't know how to be a superorganism. We try sometimes. We sacrifice for the greater good, sacrifice for the state, sacrifice for the all. But that's the problem. So we're going to talk about my ideas about that, the win-win, and when you're playing the win-win equation, you've got to remember that you have to win too. You're part of the win. If you don't win, the win-win didn't happen. It was a win-lose. I've got lots of pet ideas. I'm going to say them at one point, and people will join the stream, and they won't, but you can always catch me on my YouTube channel. I do post them every day on my videos. It goes live stream, and then it goes to podcast, and it goes to my YouTube videos. Now, I don't do anything to really find viewers, and I don't really know how to find me. My channel is Who Am I? Figure it out from there. I have been working on content, not working on viewership. Because honestly, when you're just getting started and you're not very good, you don't want 1 million people watching. So, who am I? Who am I? What are we talking about? We're going to talk about source energy. We're going to talk about us in a big context, in a big frame, as well as we're going to pull that frame all the way back to the little tiny, and we're going to kind of learn how to toggle in and out, into the specific and back out to the general, and how to point our lens of perception in different directions. And by the time we're done, I'm hoping that we all, including me, better understand who we are and how to go about finding your way in this world. What do I do? What would make me happy? What do I want? Should I move? Should I stay? Should I quit this job? Should I get married? What should I do? Who's got the answers? Now, one of the ways that human beings find answers is they turn and look and see what other people have done. Ooh, what's the formula you did? Ooh, but you know what? That's a hard one. That's a hard one. And you know what? I had a very hard time transferring that bit of information to my own children because the path I took was so unlikely and so convoluted, and it was so unique to my time period, my parents, my greatest generation parents, and I'm a boomer, and the 70s and the 80s, and it was just different than when my kids came along in the 90s, and I ended up as a housewife, and I didn't know that I wanted to advise either one of them, this is how you become a housewife, I never set out wanting to be a housewife. So what I did is I followed my heart, and I followed intuition, and I followed my own, and I made lots of mistakes too, so I wouldn't have wanted to tell them, turn right, then do this for a couple of years, then turn left, then move here, then do that. I had nothing to tell them. So how do you live your life? How do you find your way? What is your guidance? What is the meaning of what we're doing? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What's the point of all this suffering? Or is it suffering? Which way do you have yourself turned? Are you joyful and playful and having a good time? Or is it a hard, rough, and you're not having fun anymore and you don't want to do it anymore? Where are you on this scale? And how does all of this relate to the direction you're looking? And the guidance that you're, by the way, who are you? What are you made of? How does it work? What is reality itself? How does reality unfold? How do you get more of what you want and less of what you don't want? More of people having fun, loving each other, being free, solving problems, creating abundance and joyful, playful, whatever. How do you get more of that and less of people fighting with one another, pushing back against things? How do you get less of chaos, less destruction, less antisocial behavior, less authoritarian psychosis? How do you get less of that and more of the other? How do you even understand any of it? Who are you, and how does your little puzzle piece click into the greater whole around you so that you're, beeping and bopping with the rest of the group in a playful how do you make it fun instead of a big fat chore? Well, we're going to talk about all of that because I think that all of that goes to who we are and how this works. And if you understand it, you have a much easier ride than if you're just randomly banging around out here. So did you know that you had a vibrational internal guidance system? Did you know that? Did you know it for a fact? And it's not actually connected to anything weird. Or, by the way, I do this as stream of consciousness, and the easiest way that I can get the farthest distance, like the highest flying on my little starship machine, I pull up off the surface of the planet and then I start looking at us from a broader perspective in a non-resistant state. And it's harder when I come back down to earth and I touch base with my individual self. Now, this muscle, this ability to toggle back and forth is going to get better. It's a muscle that will get better as I keep doing this show, because That's what happens when you go live stream. Now all of a sudden there's people there and you're actually talking to people. So I got to go over and check in the studio. I just want to make sure that my sound levels are okay. I have been having issues with the sound levels. I want to make sure I even have anybody over there. No, I've got a keyframe frequency. Dang it. Jesus. So I had one viewer. Okay, you know what? So we never tested it. I did my keyframe thing. So I'm going to pause. Okay, hold on 1 second. Pause this. Nobody's in the chat room, so it doesn't really matter. Damn it. Okay. Shoot. Jesus. Jesus. My pause button came back, yes, comma, but my keyframe issue also came back. Let's see if I can remember where that was. Keyframe, was it here? Settings. Where's the keyframe? Okay, warning. Okay. In my OBS studio settings, I see this warning picture. Period. And the keyframe error came back in YouTube. Period. I know it's too early to deal with, comma, I'm just telling you. Period. Oh. Oh. Do I have somebody? Is somebody out there? Oh, excellent. Are you still there? Oh, okay. All right. I had an error in my um I had an error in my on my studio that I don't see that error anymore. The keyframe error has gone away. So, okay. Let's go back to the studio. Indigo, are you still there? I'm not recording anything, but if you can hear me, please let me know. You may have left because I quit talking. Huh. Okay. Oh, yay, yay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back into my studio and I'm going to go reach for the stars again. I don't know why my keyframe error went away. But I'm just going to go with it. Yay. All right. Where was I? Talking about source energy. We're always talking about source energy because I think that that's the one thing that we all have in common. That's the Venn diagram. That's the center of the Venn diagram that we all share. We are all spinning together, and I actually believe that the spin that we all have together is not a metaphor. It's not figuratively speaking. It's not philosophical. It is literal. Due to the new understandings of the actual physical shape of the universe. It is spin. Spin is what we all share. And there is actually two spins going on. The one that you share with the allness, with the wholeness that you are all spinning with. And then the spin, the personal spin, the individual spin that you yourself are in charge of. And you can spin your life any way you want. And I also believe that I believe it, but I think it's true. There are two aspects of this great spin. One is a sucking inwards, pulling together spin of coherence. And the other one is this sort of outward spitting. One is like love, and the other one is like a hurricane. Chaos and coherence, those are the two forces. And one is the spin going in, and the other one is the electromagnetic forces spitting out. It all has to do with the shape of the universe and the new understandings that we've got. And let's just take all of this, let's pull all of this information that we have, all of our history, everything we know, science, philosophy, all of the new physics, put it all together and let's figure this out. Let's quit fighting with one another on the planet. Let's understand what that is. Let's understand what positive and negative emotion actually is. And once and for all, let's quit believing our negative self. It's there, it's real, it's troublesome, it's causing quarrelsome problems on the planet, but it's not us, and it's not real. It's like a shadow self. What it is it's who we are when we get backwards to who we really are. And when you're backwards to what you really are, then every move you try to take stepping forward, you're actually just messing things up. You're creating a... So what am I talking about? I'm talking about negative emotion. What is your negative emotion? You do have perfect guidance from your higher vibrational self, who's like got the whole overview. We do have an overview self. And how does this all play into how I can, an understanding of current... So I have a couple of things that I want people to watch, because all of this information that I put out is not actually even my information. What it is it's information that I have pulled into myself, comprehended, connected to other things, went, oh my God, this is important, this is big, this is huge in the connection of understandings, and then I put it back out there as a connected thing. But it's not really even all of the idea of over unity. I didn't come up with that. What's over unity? That's the ability to put to... It's a device. An over unity device would be a device that put out more energy than it would take us fuel or whatever to run it. And the conventionally educated would say, well, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound possible. That sounds like it's against the laws of physics. But it's not against the laws of physics, because you aren't... The laws of physics would say you can't create energy out of nothing. There's the energy that exists is the energy that exists, and you can't just create it. But an over-unity device is not creating energy. And already, everywhere, is almost an unlimited, infinite source of energy. It is source energy. And what is source energy? It's this quantum field that everybody's talking about. You want to sound smart, throw out the Q word. But it really matters, because the quanta turns out to be the primordial fundamental particle that everything is made of. We thought at first it was the atom, but the atom isn't a good... You bust open the atom and all kinds of stuff spills out. But the actual fundamental particle is the Planck. And what is a Planck? It's a frequency. It's a really, really, really short frequency. And the whole universe is made up of a roiling sea of... Why does any of this matter? Why does it matter? It matters because if we understood who we were, we have every tool that we would need to fix every problem that we have. But we spend so much time fighting with one another about things because although some of us may understand the Planck bit, but most of us don't really understand our positive and negative emotions and don't really understand who we are. And so we spend a lot of time fussing about things that we shouldn't fuss about, and not... So who am I? Well, I am a vibrational being in a vibrational universe. And I do have I have an inner being. And, if you go back into religious traditions, you can hear it called a lot of different things. It's the G word, yeah. It's spirit. It's the Holy Spirit. It's mm, intuition. We are the odd thing is that as human beings on planet Earth, instead of being generally taught, this foundational, you can spin it however you want, but this is who we are. This is how it works. This is what. So I'm going to fall back on some stuff that I met the teachings of Abraham about 4 years ago. Now, it wasn't a barren landscape that Abraham teachings fell on. I had been filling it with gurus for many, many years. And I'm the kind of person that sort of, I don't do whole cloth shopping. I pull a religion into, I shop, I pull a religion into myself, and I decide what about it I like. And I keep what I like, and I sort of, like an owl, you eat the whole mouse and then you barf up the bones and the, whatever you can't digest. And I've done that with a number of religions, with my original religion that I at one point I took the lens of this religion off of my consciousness, and I sort of set it to one side. I didn't reject or accept my original religion, the one that I was born and raised with. I just took the lens off and set it to the side and didn't fight with it. I knew that every Sunday, on the first Sunday of every month, I remember watching the people bearing their testimony about this church, and you could tell that they were sincere. There was something very sincere about what they were saying about how the spirit of this religion worked for them. So I'm just like, okay, well, that's interesting, and I'm just going to keep going. And in this later part of my life, everything has just kind of come back to roost. As it all comes back and fits in, and it's like, oh my gosh, is that how it fits in? How interesting. This is who we are. So we're all taught sort of this interesting, superstitious mixture of crap about source energy. We call it God. We call it, our religion. We're taught this stuff, and then it's like super secret and super personal and very offensive to talk about, getting people to change how they view what reality is, what the meaning of life and death and sin and good and bad and the allness and the smallness. It's hard to get, and it's offensive to talk to people about our nature and the nature of reality, because it smacks right up against what people believe is the meaning of everything. If I start questioning their specific ideas about, like Jesus or something, the literal stuff about, it gets quite offensive to people. Now, when I was growing up, I remember feeling that the science versus religion question was a big one. People were like, and they couldn't see how they could both be true. It's either science or it's religion. Couldn't possibly be some sort of hybrid mixture, some Venn diagram place where the two of them met in some sort of higher understanding. Couldn't be that. Now, I collected a couple of quotes back in my 20s, so it's like 40 years ago. And I did a drawing. I should do a slide of this. Ooh, I could do that, actually. A slide of these two quotes. One is by Einstein, And he says, let me see if I can find it because it would be helpful. Oh, no. Oh, where is my quote? I have it on the wall too, but it's just so... it's something like this. Einstein says something like this. I'm going to pull it off the wall. This is the problem when you're live streaming. You don't want to let anybody down because you're live. Ooh, they're listening to you right now. Okay. Science can only ascertain what is, not what should be. Though religion may determine the goal, it nevertheless learns from science, in the broadest sense, what means will contribute to the goal's attainment. Science without religion is lame, and religion without science is blind. So that's the Einstein quote. And then the other quote is one, it's written by, it's Baha'u'llah. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. He was the founder of the Baha'i faith. But he says, science and religion are as the two wings of a bird, and the bird is mankind, which cannot fly on one wing alone. For the wing of science, if it lacks the insight of religion to balance it, leads to materialism. And the wing of religion, unguided by the reasonableness of science, leads to superstition. And that's why I always think of this quote, because the mishmash of all of the patchwork of reality teachings that people's religions have taught them is leading to a lot of superstition about the actual nature. First of all, there is no such thing as outside demons. What there is there are energies and forces within us that when we don't understand them, they run amok. And then from my perspective, if you're running amok and it looks like you are under the auspices of some dark energy, I'll imagine that you are being controlled by a demon. But you know what? It's actually quite interesting because I have some ideas about the creation of this shadow energy. I believe that whenever any of us turn backwards, get ourselves turned backwards, and then thinking that we're facing forward, try to move forward. In other words, you're under the influence of your negative self and you're believing it and then you're acting. You're creating an energy field in the surrounding area that affects all of us. You're leaving, I call it, this is one of my pet ideas. I mean, it's not one of my pet ideas. I call it Shiva energy. Well, I didn't come up with that. That's a Hindu thing. But they call it the goddess, or the god Shiva is the destroyer. It's that Loki energy. That one is from Norse mythology. It's demonic energy. That's from the Christian mythology. You know, you see that? You see how very Joseph Campbell I just did that? Anyway, I believe that our understanding of who we really are is going to help us deal differently with our fellow human beings. First of all, we're going to understand that they aren't demons and they aren't bad people if they are acting up. They are under the auspices of negative energies that have been unleashed because we didn't understand. We let the demon from under the land of Xanth. Ever read any of that stuff? The Piers Anthony Xanth series? That's pretty interesting. Let's see. I'm going to go check in my studio just for just in case my error came back and my person left. If you are... Oh, my error came back. Oh, can you still hear me? Can you still hear me, Indigo? Because I have this, my error message came back, and I don't know why. Time is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Yes, it's not time. The physical world. It's mental. It's an oh, good. You can hear me perfectly. Actually, I'm gonna go find that. That's an interesting. I love that quote. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna riff again. I don't know why my error message comes and goes, and I'm not even sure where I'm streaming. Here I am. Yeah, you can hear me perfectly, which is interesting because I see my keyframe error message. Do you see I'm not trying to stream anything, so it doesn't even matter if it's like jerky. If the video's jerky, you're just seeing a woman in a yoga woman. I call her fiery yoga woman. Okay, you know what? I love you, and if you are gonna hang with me for a few minutes, I want to do my full presentation for you. Are you up for it, Indigo? I mean, I'll do a quick version of it. Yay! I don't know how much of me you have heard, so I don't know how much of my whole story you have heard, but I want to tell it to you. Okay. It's not my personal story. It's my spiel. It's my thing that I want to share with the world. And it's the who am I story. Who am I? Who am I? Where did I come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? What are the possibilities? And why do I think all of the things that I think? The weird, crazy, wacky stuff like I think we have been genetically modified, and I think I have a piece of the evidence thereof. But it's open source evidence, so it's like, anybody can look at it. So the first thing I want to tell you is that the mathematics of all of this has been done by Nassim Haramein. The very first paper that he published was back in 2012, as a matter of fact, on the unification of it's the unification of the forces between the quantum forces, like the ones within the atom, the strong force, the weak force, I'm not sure what the other ones are. Electromagnetic and Coriolis, I'm not sure. But the I started out with such hope. The reason that it is so instead of going organic, I started at the top of my pictures, and this is that's how I decided I was going to do it, because these are my slides. I have this slide showing the origin of mass and the nature of gravity. It's a paper that he published last year in September, along with a couple of people whose names I cannot pronounce. Cyprian Hermon Prez, I don't know, and Olivier Alaral, The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. And this is why it's important. So this is the full abstract to that paper. But now I'm going to show you, and I would like people to go watch. There is a whole YouTube 37-minute, I think it's 30, approximately, could be 36. I could remember this wrong. There's some, I think it's 37-minute, though, YouTube video describing in detail this paper. And I clipped 13 slides, just screenshot them on my tablet as this video was running, showing all the what it's driving at. Now, this is just mostly so people go, oh my God, look at those words. It looks so smart. You know, black hole, proton, Hawking evaporation time. Well, and you know, before I'm done with this, if you have another half hour or 45 minutes to share with me, Indigo, I will finish this. Because we really do have all the hope in the world. And we just need to have the brightest minds of the planet understand what is possible. And then let's turn our minds this direction, and we don't have to push back against the people who have enslaved us, or the ones who control us, or the ones who own this or do that, or you know, whatever. When you understand who you really are and how this really works, you understand how futile resistance really is. Give up the resistance. Quit resisting other people. Quit resisting the things that you think you're pushing back, and just start working with the possibilities. You don't have enough time to do both. So anyway, I'm going to keep going with, as it turns out, the structure of the universe is black holes, all the way up and all the way down. Every proton of every atom, and the proton is the little bit of mass at the center, and it's a positive charge, by the way. A proton is a positively charged little vortex of mass at the center of every atom. Well, it's not just that. It happens to be magical and miraculous and a black hole. And swirling within this field, this black hole field of every proton, is a mass of Plancks, and there are so many Plancks in the center of every atom. I'm going to tell you how many, of every proton, excuse me. I'm going to tell you how many there are. So if you took every Planck in that proton, and the proton is so small you can't even see it with an electron microscope. It is teeny weeny, itsy bitsy, much smaller than the whole atom. And the atom is really small. That proton's really, really small. And inside of it, every Planck is really, really small. Do you want to know how small? If you grew every Planck to the size of a grain of sand, that proton would now be from our sun to Alpha Centauri, about 4 light years away. Make that a sphere, fill it with sand. And in that Planck field of every proton is reflected the information of every other proton in all of the universe. And it's specific to where I am. So the Planck field of every proton in my body is reflecting well, anyway, it's black holes all the way up and all the way down. Every proton is a black hole. Our planet Earth is a black hole. Our sun is a black hole. There's a black hole at the center. A black hole is not exactly what we ever thought a black hole was. It is a mathematical thing, and as every black hole emits Hawking radiation. It evaporates through Hawking radiation. It's flinging off little particles on the outside, and there's sort of a negative particle on the inside that is a corresponding thing. It sort of evaporates the black hole down. And this particular slide I've got showing right now is showing the evaporation time of the black hole proton. It will last approximately 10 to the 35 billion years. We haven't even done 10 to the 2 billion years yet. That would be 100 billion years. In other words, this little sucker, even though it's a black hole, is incredibly stable, and it does obey black hole proton Hawking radiation. I know that that was a bit of a diversion here, but here we're going to keep going with these slides. I've got 13 of these slides. It shows quantum space-time pixelization. This is the it's solid plonks out there. Now, when they are just kind of randomly, when they're not organized, it's the 0 point energy field. We call it space. We call it empty space. But there is no such thing as empty space. The empty space is absolutely jam-packed full of these quantum oscillators, these vacuum fluctuations. They are plonks. They are little teeny weeny itsy bitsy frequencies of the shortest possible frequency in this. As a matter of fact, I have the I'm hot. Excuse me, I'm taking my robe off. Here we go. I'm going to finish these. Here's the Planck length. And how you get a Planck is you take a photon going at the speed of light, crosses its own energy, its own diameter, and that's what a Planck length, that's a Planck length. Hold on. Here we have Max Planck and the black body radiation. I invite you to watch over on Gaia. There is a series called Quantum Revolution, and it explains, it's a 12-part series that Nassim did back, it's been out there for a few years. And hold on a second. It's all about the new understandings of the new physics, the fullness of space-time, the spinning space-time, the black holes all the way up and all the way down, the wormhole connections, this matrix of energy that connects us. It's just really, really very, very cool. And we need to, from now on, whenever we create anything, whenever we pass laws, whenever we build buildings or systems or connect with one another, we should be taking into consideration the new understandings of our world, ourselves, and physics and mathematics and all of that, because this is the roadmap to the technology of the 21st century. We are still regurgitating the technology of the 20th century, and we're trying to, get fancier versions of that 20th century technology, but none of it is recognizing our 21st century understanding, the new understanding of consciousness, of our connection to the whole cosmos, to our connection to each other, our connection to the morphogenetic fields of information that surround us, the morphogenetic fields of the information of biology on planet Earth. We aren't playing nice with it because we aren't. Anyway, this one, I like this slide because what this shows is as matter organizes, as it comes across the event horizon of the 0 point energy field as a virtual particle, a quantum oscillator coming into organization as a particle. What is it doing? It's spin. Spin is baked into the cake. It's fundamental. Gravity is not the effect of large objects bending the space-time around them, although when you think of it that way, the mathematics works out. What it is it's a large object spinning. It's the spin that is causing the curvature of that, of the space-time that causes the gravity. This fundamental change in understanding is going to free mankind from gravity. Mark my words, it is going to do it. And it's going to do it if we would get our heads out of our asses and quit fighting with one another and start linking with one another to make this happen. we could free ourselves from fossil fuel and we could get our transportation up off the surface of the planet within the next couple of decades. We could do it. We could do one rather quickly, and the other one, the conversion of which would take a little longer. And then instead of our infrastructure projects, us imagining them as being, more projects in fixing those bridges, and let's slather more concrete and asphalt and let's wire up more houses in the first world manner. Instead, let's truly understand the physics of this world that we are surrounded by and understand who we are in the middle of this. So I'm going to switch gears. I have done my little spiel on the quantum field, the divine matrix. If we could understand it truly, it would free us. But now we're going to switch gears. We're going to go back to the psychological and the philosophical and the spiritual and the religious kind of direction. Who am I? And what is really going on amongst all of us. We're going to, forget about the religious word because we're not going to do that one. So this slide, I got this one from Greg Braden. You can go online, actually. A lot of people have this slide. It's not new, but it shows you your neocortex. What is the neocortex? It is a very special layer of mind. It makes human beings different from the rest of the animal kingdom. But we have a connection to the rest of the animal kingdom because if you look at this slide, you will notice that we still have our mammalian and lizard brains. We didn't trade them in. We just added a layer of overview mind. Our neocortex gives us logic and analysis, rational thought, control of our emotions instead of just the knee-jerk. The environment shows us something, we don't like it, we react. The neocortex gives you a layer of thinking mind that gives you control of your emotions because now you can think it through. Do I want to feel this way? Should I feel this way? You don't just have to knee-jerk react anymore. But this is the key. This is interesting because you are two selves. You are your physical self and you are a vibrational self that is connected to all of the rest of the universe, and it's also connected to all of everybody else's vibrational self. There's an overlap because my vibrational self gives me access to the whole universe, but it's the whole universe as it appears from this position on the grid. Makes it way different. It's sort of like I have a whole Lego set, but I'm playing it from here, and you're playing it from there, and he's playing it from over there, and each one of us is iterating this whole set of Legos in our own way. How am I spinning it? How are you spinning it? How are they spinning it? And a lot of our fellow human beings have gotten themselves turned backwards. They have got caught in a loop of observing things that they don't like. And then because they don't understand how it works, how you get what you think about, whether you like it or not, and they cannot quit thinking about everything that they do not like and all of the things that they fear. And so they just keep creating more and more of it. And other people start observing what they are creating, and then they get trapped in the same loop. They don't know who they are. They can't separate themselves from their negative self because they don't understand. Who am I? You get how this works? Do you get where our salvation lies? Now, I don't know what to do with it because it's just me. But I do know what to do with it as far as just me goes. I use all of these equations to work my own life, to re-achieve my own emotional stability, because my own emotional stability turns out to be my own personal most important asset. If you can get your positive self, so Your positive self is your real self, but your negative self might have staked out quite a bit of territory here on the ground. And so you have a whole bunch of things in your life that may be negative that you think are real. And, I don't even know how to say these things because I actually have a regular perspective just like everybody else. I am not crazy, I promise you. Oh, and let me finish this, my presentation too, because I can talk about this all day. And someday I will. As a matter of fact, someday I am going to do a marathon. I'm going to call it a seminar, but it's going to kind of be a marathon, and maybe it's a good idea if I do it as a live stream, and then, just like a regular seminar would have people in the room when you do the seminar, if I do it as a live stream, then that accomplishes the same thing, right? But I know that this understanding, the combination of which will help individuals manage their own emotional landscapes and therefore will put them in better touch with their broader perspective, so they will have a better idea of what their whole self is really trying to do, so they'll quit sabotaging their broader perspective plans by their short-sightedness in their, you know what I mean? You are a long-range being, and you do have long-range vision and understanding. You also have this specific short-range understanding. And the two of you need to line up with one another. And as far as you are lining up with one another, you feel good and you are successful in your life. And insofar as you keep breaking connection with your broader perspective, and so you can't get a clear bead on what you're really about, to that extent, that's where your life is going awry. If your life is going awry, that's where it would be. So I'm going to check back into the studio just for a second. This neocortex part of your brain, the reason I bring this up is because some 3/4 of the volume of this neocortex is coming from a particular place in our genome. It's coming from human chromosome number 2, which turns out to be a fused chromosome. It is 2 other chromosomes fused together at the telomere. Do you know what a telomere is? Indigo, do you know what a telomere is? Let me see. The telomere is the... Dialectic Truth has joined the party. Welcome. Thank you. Yeah, so human chromosome number 2, this is an open secret. Everybody knows about this, but it's really interesting anyway. Human chromosome number 2 is a fused chromosome. And you can see the evidence for this over at pnas.org. This is a peer-reviewed scientific journal from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. That's what PNAS stands for. And over here, it was published in 1991, October 15th. There's 2 volumes published that month. It's the second one. The one came out in the middle of the month. And I had to look at the titles because this page numbers, they're hidden within the articles. You can't really, I couldn't find it that way. So it's the 40th article in Origin of Human Chromosome Number 2, an ancient telomere to telomere fusion. So some geneticists back in 91 published this work. They sequenced this chromosome And what they concluded after doing the sequencing is that it's actually two chromosomes stuck together at the telomeres, like fused together telomere to telomere, and then redundancies on both sides of the equation clipped away for to stabilize that fusion so it didn't come apart. And oddly, what it created is the neocortex. Here's the full abstract. We conclude that this is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. I believe this is the missing link. These are the bones we're looking for in the dirt, which we're never going to find because anatomically modern humans appeared on planet Earth rather suddenly. And I think it's because we were genetically modified. And now I'm not going to stop right there. The reason I find that interesting is, why would they do this to us? Why would they give us this neocortex? Well, one of the things that the neocortex does is it gives us our human emotions. And so, Spock, you're wrong. Our human emotions are absolutely vital, really, really important. And what they are telling you is how well your thoughts that you're taking with this higher mind, your neocortex is like the equivalent of your overview physical mind. It's the overview physical mind over your reactive mammalian and lizard aspects. Those are the aspects of you that are very tightly wired to the environment around you and are going to react immediately just based on, stimuli from the environment. The neocortex gives you overview. And that's why it matters so much that your thoughts match your true overview self, who really knows. And the reason that I tie these things to the physics that I tie it to is because your understanding of the physics, the new understandings of the physics of the 21st century, help shore up your faith as you understand, it is holographic, and all of the information is vibrationally right here with me right now. It's encoded across the Planck field of every one of my black hole protons. Is encoded the information of the holographic information of all the field around me. And this is true of every proton that surrounds me. And so why does this matter? It's because no wonder my inner being knows everything. All of the information is right here for her to know. And so the leap of believing that you have an aspect of yourself that is in touch with the actual reality of all of the atoms and molecules. And so this is why your inner being really does know everything. It knows where the leaves are falling and how your blood is flowing and what your neighbor is, because your inner being is vibrationally in touch with all other vibrational inner beings. And this brings me to the position that I always come to. So who you really are, is your inner being. So what you really want is what your inner being wants. So that brings us to the win-win equation. That means what I really want doesn't actually interfere with what you really want. So that's interesting. That means when I am in alignment with who I really am and following the guidance of my inner being, then I'm not stepping on the toes of others and I'm not hurting other people. Well, to the extent that I am fully and completely and utterly in contact with my own inner being. It's just an interesting concept. So we have been taught for many centuries even that we are playing a game of win-lose. Win-lose. It's all about competition and who deserves to survive, you know? But that's not exactly what the paradigm we're playing. However, we live in a universe that is so perfectly reflective, so utterly unconditionally supportive, that if you play the game as a win-lose, you will be supported in that. And you will find yourself surrounded by winners or losers. You will see a field of winners and a field of bloody losers. And if you start looking at the losers, then you get whatever. It will play like a win-lose if you play it like a win-lose. But that is not in alignment with who we really are and how to really play this. So, what we are actually in the middle of is a win-win-win-win. Now, we got to be careful about this, because in the past, when we recognize that we are a greater creature, that we are a higher self, that we are a greater whole, one of the things that we tend to do with that is we think that it's righteous and virtuous to sacrifice ourselves for this greater whole. And I think that that is a problem. I don't think we are supposed to sacrifice ourselves for this greater whole. We are supposed to be ourselves, find ourselves, know ourselves, joyfully be ourselves for the whole. Don't sacrifice yourself for the whole. If you're looking for the win-win, it very vitally includes you winning too. So how do you find the equations where I win and you win? Well, just keep it in mind all the time. Like, say if you're starting a business, you think in terms of win-win for me and the community. The more that win-win goes, then the better your business is going to do, because the local community wins when your business wins. There's a win-win for you. Add in your employees, give them a good living, make their lives pleasant, tap into their resources, tap into their own internal genius, make it a win-win for them, and all of a sudden you've roped them into cooperative components to your venture. You see how this works? Do you see how it builds? And when you play it as a win-lose, there's a problem with that. Now, personally, I see this one issue as being the biggest problem with the philosophical landscape of our current, well, it's not our current president because he hasn't been sworn in yet. Everybody's freaking out and it's still November, you know? The problem with him is that he sees it as a win-lose. And the problem with all of his enemies is they want him to lose. But you don't understand the way that you get the whole field in on the cooperation is you make it a win-win, win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. And we've got to start thinking that way because our inner being absolutely thinks that way. So, a lot of what my presentation ends up being is, so I did my little mathematical, tied it to the new physics of Nassim and his International Space Federation and the Resonance Science Foundation and all of the people over there and the ones over at Gaia, Quantum Revolution and all of that. I did all of that. I didn't do it exhaustively because we're talking about the physics, the new physics of the whole universe. You could talk more than an hour about just that easily. You could talk all day about just that. I could talk all day about simply law of attraction and our human psychology, how the physics of our physical bodies and our binary system of conventional and vibrational self, how it adds in to the spinning understandings over there. And, I could talk about it all day, and I'm going to keep talking about it every morning because I enjoy doing it. I know that there's something in here, everything from freedom from fossil fuels to more peaceful interactions amongst each other. We really need to broadcast this greater understanding of who we are all the way out so that it starts reflecting in our criminal justice system, for instance, in the way we approach military projects, the way we approach everything. We need to understand who we really are and what's possible, so that we can truly make our way to our so let's see, let's go to the emotional guidance scale. Now, your emotional guidance scale it actually happens because you are two selves. You are your physical mind and you are your source mind. Now, I have a terrible picture that does not adequately capture this. This is two apertures. This is two camera apertures. One is wide open, but imagine that they are both vortices of spin. All right? One is that source vortex of spin that we all share. The other one is the little individual you that you are as you dial in your specific self. Now, I don't really like this picture, and I made it really big, so it's blurry, and so it's not great. But now let's come back to the emotional guidance scale. Now, your source aspect is pure positive. It is attached to all that is with a capital I. It doesn't have anything to do with anything that isn't. It doesn't have anything to do with darkness or dark energies or demonic anything. It's just, it is reflecting the isness of this world. That's what your source self is. It knows. It's a continuum of data and information flow. It knows who you were before you got here. It knows who you are now. It knows where everything is. It is just attached to isness, and it is attached to the whole thing. That's your source side. And then you have your little you side. This comes up from your physical thoughts. Has to do with what you believe about the universe, what your parents taught you, what your grandparents taught you, what your peers have taught you, what your experience has taught you. You've got a collection of thoughts, and it may or may not be in alignment with true reality. And true reality, that's your inner being. Your inner being knows true reality. Your inner being, you might think of it as your spiritual self, but your spiritual self is all about what's physically real. That's why I add the physics into this, because it's one system. And if you get your own consciousness lined up properly with how it really is around you and who you really are, these two selves, and the one of them being who you really are. Which one do I mean? The physical one you really are, or the eternal continuum that you really are? Guess. I mean the eternal continuum that you really are. However, everything is here and now. There is no yesterday. When it was yesterday, it was now. And tomorrow, when it will be tomorrow, it's going to be now. There isn't anything but now. So this physical self that I am, that must be real too, because that's happening right now. But when this physical body dies, and I'm pretty sure that at some point it will, unless I get down to the coherence clinic ASAP and get some of these cells to, find their freshness again, I'm going to expire. And when I do, there is a continuum of data flow and information that is me, that's not going anywhere. And I think the whole reason that we are here is to identify who you are. And you identify with what resonates with me. Ooh, that feels like me. Ooh, that feels good. That feels like me. Ooh, that feels bad. That's not me. But when you don't understand your emotions, when it feels bad, you don't realize that that means that that thought is not you. That's why it feels bad. Pick a different thought. Your emotions are actually not a direct reaction to the outside world. Because of your neocortex, you have a thought that goes in between. If you didn't have the neocortex, then you would just be reacting from your mammalian brain, which is more reactive to the environment. Something happens, I don't like it. You know? Something threatens my baby. Because I love my baby. I mean, it's very visceral and it's very attached to the immediate environment now. Well, we have that neocortex, and that gives us our emotions. And they are not illogical. They are blessed and amazing. And human emotion sings to this quantum field. This quantum field of Planck's that can become anything. So I boil it down to fundamentally this. There are two aspects to this universe: the form and the formless. And the form is all made of Planck's. The Planck's are actually at rest, are the formless. Well, what brings the formless into form? Desire is what does that. And I am the formless. I am the desire. I am the love. I am the frequency. I am the vibration. That's who I really am, and that's what I want. I want that I want that feeling, that vibration of connected wholeness, goodness, because when I am not in a physical body, I feel that sensation coming from reverberating from the whole universe. That's my feeling. So when I come down into this physical space, I'm looking for that resonant feeling, and I find it when I find love and connection and wholeness and all of that. So who am I? Who am I? Well, I am a vibrational being in a vibrational universe. And what is the point of my existence? I am here for, how does Abraham put it? Freedom, expansion, and joy. Or freedom, growth, and joy. And then everyone says, we hear you, Abraham. Growth, growth, growth. Freedom and growth and joy. We hear you, Abraham. Growth, growth, growth. And that's the way human beings are. We sort of hit the one, we don't realize the other. We are free. The basis of our whole existence is freedom. And I'll tell you why. It doesn't even matter if what the hell your physical body's doing, whether it's trapped in bed or whether it is in a prison or whether, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where your physical body is, because you always have the freedom to do the one and only thing that you ever needed to do in order to know which direction to move. What is that? Line up with your inner being. Line up with your broader perspective knowing. Well, how do you do that? Care how you feel, because she feels good all the time, no matter what. No matter what. She's not insecure. She's been here forever. She's not afraid of anything. Why would she be? She can turn the Planck's into any shape she wants. Why would she be afraid of anything? She is here playing for all of eternity, and she knows that. You're the one who may not know it, because you're playing a hide and seek game. And it almost takes all the fun out of it when you hit broader perspective so hard that it's like, well, I can see. It's like the fun of playing a maze when you are two selves and one of you can just stand above and know exactly which way to go. That's kind of your broader perspective. That's what she's giving you. And how is she doing it? She's doing it through your emotional guidance. So this one is just the list of, from the highest emotions down to the highest frequency of positive emotions tracked through the center where it gets slack. As the positive emotion gets less momentous, it sort of slacks off to contentment right there. Contentment. That's the baseline of positive emotion, is right there. I'm just satisfied. I'm not really doing much of anything, but I'm all right. And I think a lot of the animal kingdom kind of lives right there. Right there. They live in contentment. And then if you start spinning negative thought about the world around you, you start going into the lower ones. But it's thought that takes us there, not the conditions of the world. It's our interpretation of the conditions of the world. And our broader perspective is interpreting the conditions of the world in a way that doesn't make her feel bad. By the way, I'm an hour and 13 minutes in, so I'm way past where I meant to be. I have no idea whether anybody is still with me. Let us see. The last, I don't know whether anybody is anybody still with me? Can you still hear me? I need to know this because I am still deeply working on my tech side. I am now doing my microphone directly up to the mic. Do I have anybody viewing? I think I have two. Do I have anybody on right now? I think I have 2 people on right now. But I don't know. Hello, Dialectic Truth, Indigo, is anybody there? Oh, resistance is assistance. That's an interesting concept. I'm not sure I know what you mean by that. But resistance is it's both not our friend and our friend. It's like Abraham tells us. Contrast causes you to focus, causes you to know what you want, causes you to know who you are. And actually, I don't know whether anybody else, has anybody, I think I may have lost everybody. I have no idea. Okay, well, in that case, that's fine. I don't have any idea what my problem is technically. So I will come back tomorrow and we will try it again. Ooh, average view duration was 39 minutes. That's fabulous. Oh, you're still there. Thank you, Indigo. I appreciate that. I have been thinking about getting my daughter to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and test my system. All right, well, I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to hit the same thing. Forgive me if I hit the same notes, but I'm practicing that it's this package of who we are and what our universe, how it's shaped, and how all of that offers all the possibility that mankind needs to solve every problem he's got without having to go push against things that they don't like. That's kind of where I'm going with it. And you can use this information to do your calculations, both specific and personal, as you're trying to figure out how to work your own life, how to get your family to cooperate, or how to organize a pinochle group, or build a business, or whatever it is you're trying to organize or do, to understand these to understand that what we're really talking about are the fundamentals of spinning organization. It's what everything is. Everything is spin. And how you spin it is the most important part of all of it. It's going to have everything to do with where you spin your life. And at the end of the day, at the end of the whether you call it successful or not, did you feel good? Did you have fun? Did you find your freedom? Did you find your voice? Did you find who you really are? And did you be it for the group, even if it made you feel perhaps in this moment like you're kooky? You know? I'm going to change that last slide because when I close this off, it's going to end up showing the one that let's go back to where I started. Fiery Yoga Woman. This is the one we're going to end on because as soon as I close this stream, this is the one that's going to identify the stream that I did today. I didn't actually show you, Indigo, every single slide I've got, but most of it is just like minor things that help me illustrate my point, my cymatic patterns, trying to show us that we live in a vibrational universe. And then I have, I'll get to all of it. In any case, I love you. I appreciate you. I'll be back about the same time. It's right around 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which I think is around 1 p.m. your time. In any case, I love you. Stay cool. Stay with me. Stay hopeful. Stay tuned. And until tomorrow, may that source be with you.